After the car accident, the doctor insisted I had amnesia, that I remembered every single woman who came to visit me perfectly. He was a renowned neurologist. Yet he was convinced I must have forgotten something crucial. I couldn't help but complain to my sister, "This doctor is just looking for problems. I've seen everyone I'm supposed to see these past few days in the hospital. If there was someone truly important, how could they have not shown up by now?" My sister looked at me in silence for a moment, then gave an awkward laugh. "You're right. You remember everyone you're supposed to. What kind of amnesia is that?" After my sister left, a woman in a sharp business suit suddenly appeared in my hospital room. Her back was to me as she spoke on the phone. Ms. Sterling, Ethan is in the hospital. Do you want to come see him?" But a cold, female voice came from the other end of the line. "Is he dead? If not, don't bother me." After the call ended, the woman sighed in resignation. When she saw I was awake, she froze for a second before slowly walking over to my bed. "Mr. Hayes, you're awake. And you are?" I asked, looking at her with a completely blank expression. The woman's expression shifted. "You don't recognize me? I'm Sarah, Miss Sterling's assistant." "Who is Miss Sterling?" I asked, confused. Hearing that, Sarah looked at me impatiently. "Ethan, Miss Sterling is very busy. Stop faking amnesia. Even attempting suicide won't work on her." Her bizarre words left me even more bewildered. When I didn't respond, Sarah stepped closer and tried to reason with me. "Ethan, you and Miss Sterling have been married for 5 years, and you've been causing drama for 5 years. She's never managed to fall in love with you. Don't you think it's time you got the hint?" I still had no idea what was going on, but her condescending attitude made me deeply uncomfortable. There was something about her expression that I found instinctively repulsive. "Wait, what did you just say? 5 years. I bolted into the room's private bathroom and stared at my reflection in the mirror. It was definitely me, the same face, but it looked more mature than I remembered and carried a hint of melancholy that wouldn't fade. Could what that woman, Sarah, said actually be true? Was it really 5 years later? Was I really married? But my memory was stuck at 18, right when I started college. Back then, I had a crush on an upperclassman, a girl named Chloe. I think she'd skipped a few grades, so even though she was ahead of me in school, she was actually a couple of years younger. And now, somehow, I was married to her. According to Sarah, I had married Chloe when I was 22. It was a whirlwind marriage with no real emotional foundation. After we got married, I discovered Chloe's heart wasn't with me. Instead, she was incredibly close to a guy named Julian Vance, who was supposedly her first love. And me, the unloved husband, started to self-sabotage our marriage. I tried every bizarre trick in the book to get Chloe's attention, but all I earned was her growing contempt. Her friends all treated me like a joke, just placing bets on when we'd finally get divorced. Julian Vance never gave me the time of day either. He was the golden boy of their social circle, and every hysterical scene I made just made me look like a clown in their eyes. Finally, I threatened suicide to get Chloe to stop seeing Julian Vance, but she refused. She even told me to go ahead and die. And then I collapsed. That's everything that happened before I woke up. Attempting suicide for love. That didn't sound like me at all. I despise desperate people who have no self-respect. By the time I pieced all this together, I was already in the master bedroom of our house. The doctor said I was mostly fine, so Sarah brought me straight home. Before she left, she gave me a look that was part warning, part plea, telling me not to cause any more trouble. I stared at the enormous mansion before me, any desire to make a scene completely vanishing. I was just stunned by the staggering opulence. Even the walk-in closet was several times bigger than my old apartment. Just as I was taking in the dazzling sight of Chloe's in my bedroom, I heard a noise at the door. I whipped my head around and my eyes met the icy gaze of Chloe herself. Even though I knew we'd been married for 5 years, for me, this was the first time I'd seen her face this close. I had to admit there was a reason she'd been my goddess back in the day. Just looking at that face improved my mood considerably. Even with her cold expression, I didn't feel much animosity. Seeing my silence, she frowned slightly. "Ethan, what are you up to now?" As she spoke, she glided towards the walk-in closet, not even breaking her stride as she passed me and pulled out a silk robe. I turned to face her. up to something. I haven't said a single word since you walked in, and you're accusing me of starting things. Chloe's dark eyes bored into me. You usually throw yourself at me the second I walk through the door. Is this a new tactic? Playing hard to get? I was a little shocked. Was I really that clingy after we got married? Then, with a calm expression, I looked at her and said, "Oh, well, I won't be doing that anymore." I expected her to look relieved, but instead her frown deepened and she looked at me with even more irritation. I've been exhausted with work lately. I don't have the energy for your games. When I remained silent, Chloe's gaze turned sharp. Ethan, don't you dare try anything with Julian again. He's done nothing wrong, and threatening me with suicide won't work. I froze, a complicated mix of emotions swirling inside me. Sarah had already told me most of what happened between Chloe and me. It was a simple, pathetic story. I loved Chloe, Chloe loved Julian, and I, the clown in this triangle, could only make things difficult for Julian, earning more and more of Chloe's hatred. This latest suicide attempt was because I was jealous of how Chloe had on Julian. So I'd secretly launched a smear campaign against his company and its clients. But Chloe had backed him without a second thought, which basically announced to our entire social circle that I was her husband in name only and that, in her heart, I wasn't worth a fraction of Julia. That's when I lost it and tried to use suicide to win her back. The result was predictable. Seeing my continued silence, Chloe lost her patience and went straight into the bathroom. I let out a breath. I didn't realize I was holding uncollapsed onto the massive bed, my mind a chaotic mess. Having lost the last few years of my life, I truly couldn't comprehend how I had become this unhinged. My 18-year-old self despised people who were obsessed with love, yet here I was ready to die for a woman. I never imagined I could be so pathetic. My thoughts were still racing, and before I could figure out my next move, the covers beside me were lifted and a warm, soft, fragrant body slid into bed next to me. The sudden wave of her scent sent a jolt through me. I turned my head to see Chloe watching me with those dark, intense eyes. "What are you doing?" I might have amnesia, but based on everything I'd learned, Chloe and I were supposed to have a terrible relationship. Right? We probably even slept in separate rooms. How could she just slide into bed with me so naturally? Chloe seemed oblivious to my discomfort. Without any warning, she was on top of me, her delicate fingers expertly tracing patterns on my skin. It was an entirely new sensation, and I couldn't stop myself from crying out her name. "Chloe, don't touch me." The resistance in my eyes must have looked genuine, because a flicker of surprise crossed her face, but it was quickly replaced by annoyance. "Ethan, don't throw a fit." I hated the way she spoke to me. Even that face I'd crushed on for years was starting to lose its appeal. "I'm your husband, right? I come home from the hospital and not a single word of concern from you, which is one thing, but now you're just attacking me. Chloe, what gives you the right to treat me this way?" My anger seemed to light her fuse. She grabbed my wrist, her voice turning to ice. "Because you brought all of this on yourself." She wasn't very strong, but her grip landed directly on the wound on my wrist from the suicide attempt. I winced in pain but forced myself not to make a sound. Chloe suddenly pulled her and back as if she'd lost interest, turning her back to me. "I'll let it go this time, but from now on, no more faking suicide attempts to threaten me." I lay there beside her in silence, a storm of conflicting emotions inside me. When I woke up the next morning, Chloe was already gone. I threw on some clothes and went downstairs to find her already at the dining table eating breakfast, the butler standing beside her. He greeted me. "Good morning, Mr. Hayes." I stood there, not moving. Chloe didn't even look up. "You're awake. Come down and eat." Even though it was just breakfast, the spread was astonishingly lavish. This was a wealthy family. All right, even breakfast was a grand production. I sat down across from Chloe and the butler placed a bowl of tapioca pudding in front of me. I was speechless. What kind of guy eats this for breakfast? I caught the scent of mango and frowned. "Wait, why is there mango in this?" The butler smiled faintly. "Mr. Vance had them sent over specially. They're his favorite. Flown in from Europe." My appetite vanished instantly. "I'm not hungry. You guys go ahead and..." At my words, Chloe immediately looked up at me. "Ethan, that's enough. I've been holding in my frustration since I woke up. What is it? Me not eating mango is a problem for you now. You're only refusing to eat it because Julian sent it. Aren't you? When are you going to get your jealousy under control? Chloe asked, her expression cold. Me? Jealous of Julian? I had no idea what the 27-year-old version of me was like around Chloe, but I imagined he was pathetic and petty. But we were husband and wife. Did she really not know I was allergic to mangoes? Just as I was about to speak, the butler cut in. Ma'am, Mr. Vance is here. A smooth voice drifted in. Chloe, am I interrupting? A tall figure appeared in the doorway. Both the butler and the housekeeper greeted him with a familiarity that suggested he was a frequent visitor. One glance was all I needed to know it was Julian Vance. I noticed the butler's titles. I was Chloe's husband, yet he called me Mr. Hayes. This guy was Mr. Vance. The difference in intimacy was obvious. No wonder my 27-year-old self was so obsessed with him. We were legally married, yet I could never compete with her blatant preference for another man. Julian looked at me with feigned concern. Mr. Hayes, I heard about your wrist. Are you feeling any better? I snorted, not bothering to hide my disdain. I didn't know how my older self acted around them. Probably like a doormat letting them walk all over him because he was so in love with Chloe. But I was 18 again. I didn't love Chloe. I'd only had a crush on her. I had no reason to put up with this. Julian looked at Chloe, feigning distress. Chloe, maybe I should go. Mr. Hayes doesn't seem happy to see me. You knew that and you came anyway. You attention seeker. Did you just come here to gloat? My blunt comment made Julian's face flush red. Chloe immediately snapped at me. Ethan, stop making a scene. She was defending him. A wave of bitterness washed over me and my already tarnished image of her soured even more. Waking up married to my dream girl had initially been a thrill, a stroke of unbelievable luck. But now it was clear that no matter how beautiful or wealthy Chloe was, she was just a terrible person. I was fuming, but Julian remained a picture of a calm gentleman. Chloe, I actually came to invite you to my Victoria party. Mr. Hayes should come too, if he's feeling up to it. I had no intention of going. But then I saw the faint glint of contempt and provocation in Julian's eyes. A smirk touched my lips. Sure. After all, I'm Chloe's husband. It's my duty to accompany her to these things. And just like that, I went with Chloe to Julian's party. When the three of us walked into the private room, every head turned and a variety of expressions played across their faces. A low buzz of chatter filled the room, just loud enough for me to catch snippets of their conversations. I scanned the room. They were probably Chloe's or Julian's friends, all part of the same elite circle. I sneered to myself. No wonder my older self had tried to kill himself. How could anyone listen to this garbage every day and not lose their mind? And I must have been deeply in love with Chloe to endure that kind of daily torment. To be in so much pain that I wanted to end my own life. Chloe and Julian had already taken their seats at a reserved table, leaving me standing alone in the middle of the room. Isn't it awkward? Him just standing there by himself? He doesn't get embarrassed. As long as he gets to be near Chloe, he'd probably kneel, if you asked him to. I shot a cold glare at the man who'd spoken. She's not dead. Why would I kneel for her? The man's expression changed, clearly surprised that I had talked back. Chloe cut in, her voice laced with impatience. All right. That's enough from everyone. I was being openly mocked. And instead of defending me, she just told everyone to play nice. I scoffed. Clearly I'm not welcome here. I won't impose any longer. Goodbye. With that, I turned and walked out, hearing a collective gasp from the room behind me. Did I see that right? Did he just storm out on Chloe? Maybe Julian finally broke him. The noise from behind was grating on my nerves, so I went out to the pool area to get some air. It wasn't long before Julian came out too. Mr. Hayes, I have to say, you've surprised me. I glanced behind him and saw he was alone. Given how much I despise you, aren't you afraid I'll push you into this pool? Julian just smiled. I'd be more surprised if you had the guts. After all, everyone knows Chloe would save me. I turned my head away, done with the conversation. Seeing my dismissal, Julian moved closer. Ethan, want to make a bet? I don't get it. If you two are so in love, why doesn't she just divorce me? Julian, is it really true love if you have to trample on someone else's heart to get what you want? Julian's expression faltered. That's because you refuse to let go. You're so desperate to cling to Chloe that you'd even try to kill yourself. She just feels sorry for you. He quickly regained his calm, gentle composure. "So Ethan, care to make a bet?" The pool's surface shimmered, looking deceptively clear and shallow, but I knew it was deep. I shook my head firmly. No. Everyone knew I couldn't swim, and I wasn't stupid enough to have a near-death experience twice in 1 week. Just as I stood up, I caught a look of disappointment in Julian's eyes. He was standing right behind me. He shoved me hard. With a loud splash, my ears were filled with screams. My body hit the water and began to sink fast. In that moment, all sensation vanished except for the overwhelming terror of being swallowed by the water. Water filled my throat and a crushing weight settled in my lungs. I fought desperately to reach the surface, only to see a familiar silhouette slicing through the water in the opposite direction. It was my wife, Chloe. When Julian and I both hit the water, she swam straight for him. A sharp pain pierced my chest. It must have been the last lingering emotion of my 27-year-old self. Even though I'd forgotten the past, my body's instincts remained, and this time that feeling was drowned for good. When I came to, I was lying on the edge of the pool. Both Julian and I had been pulled out. He had been saved by Chloe, a woman I didn't recognize had saved me. I had to admit she was attractive, definitely my type. I lay on the pavement as she performed chest compressions, trying to force the water from my lungs. I coughed violently, spitting up a long FUL of water as Chloe walked over. Julian was putting on a show, looking concerned. Chloe seemed to finally remember she had a husband, frowning as she asked, "Ethan, are you okay?" I didn't answer, just struggled to get up. The woman who saved me tried to help, but I pushed her hand away. When Chloe stood in front of me, I raised my hand to slap her, but I don't hit women. My hand froze midair and instead I grabbed her and shoved her away from me, sending her tumbling to the ground. The area fell completely silent. I could hear people holding their breath. A woman like Chloe, a wealthy heiress, had probably never had anyone lay a hand on her in her life, not even a shove. "Let's get a divorce. I don't want anything from you. Consider that of my severance package." I looked at the woman before me coldly. I had once imagined how she would react to this moment with shock, disappointment, or anger. But now her reaction meant nothing to me. The silence was deafening, even more profound than before. I could hear the water dripping from my clothes onto the pavement. They all seemed stunned that I, the man who had always followed Chloe around like a puppy, had not only pushed her but had also demanded a divorce. Chloe was silent for a long time, a faint red mark already forming on her skin where I grabbed her. She suddenly started walking toward me, and I felt a wave of revulsion, quickly taking a step back. In that moment, Chloe's expression turned even darker than it had been when I pushed her. "I already said the shove was my severance. Don't tell me you can't even accept that." Chloe said nothing. Her lips pressed into a thin line as she grabbed my wrist and tried to pull me away. In the confusion, a slender hand grabbed my other arm. It was the woman who'd saved me. She glanced at me, then at Chloe, and with a playful smile said, "Chloe, he almost drowned. Maybe cut him some slack." It was the woman who'd pulled me from the pool. She was soaked through and there was a wild, captivating energy about her. She was the complete opposite of Chloe. Chloe was a refined, cool-eyed queen, while this woman was fiery and untamed. For a brief moment, my attention drifted. Captivated. Chloe seemed to notice, and her expression instantly became terrifyingly dark. She tightened her grip on my arm. "Jessica, he's my husband. What right do you have to tell me what to do?" Jessica's defiant smile didn't waver. Funny, I could have sworn I just heard him say he wants a divorce. The air turned frigid. Jessica saw the murderous look in Chloe's eyes and just laughed. "Regardless, I did just save your husband's life. Don't I at least deserve a thank you?" Chloe's expression softened slightly. "I'll give you the Westwood Project, full control. Is that enough?" With that, she dragged me away, leaving a chorus of shocked gasps in our wake. The Westwood Project. That's a massive deal. Chloe just handed it over to Jessica. That's a $1 billion contract. Even the Vance family only got a small piece, and she's giving the whole thing to Jessica. Chloe dragged me to a hotel room. She was particular and never stayed in a room someone else had used, so the hotel kept a permanent penthouse suite reserved just for her. She pulled me by the wrist, not saying a word the entire time, and guided me into the bathroom, turning on the water in the tub. As the warm water enveloped me, I looked at her impatiently. "Chloe, can you please leave?" She had that same cold, sullen expression as always. She'd been like this ever since I pushed her. "No, you're my husband. What's wrong with me looking at you?" I was just about to get out of the tub when she suddenly walked back in. I had no idea what she was planning, and it startled me. The next second, a weight pressed down on me as she wrapped her arms around me tightly. Chloe's arms coiled around me like vines, squeezing the air from my lungs. I struggled, but she only held on tighter. Just as my patience wore out, I heard her strained and quiet, "Ethan, thank God you're okay." My own voice was ice. "Could you please have some self-respect? Jessica was the one who saved me. What right do you have to say that?" I would never forget the sight of her swimming toward him when we were both drowning. Even with 5 years of my memory gone, my heart had felt a primal stab of pain in that moment. I think that was my 27-year-old self's last gasp. I was glad I had amnesia otherwise, given how much my older self loved her. The pain might have literally killed me. Chloe was speechless. She opened her mouth as if to say something, but no words came out. "I can't swim," she saved Julian. That was a fact. If it weren't for Jessica, I wouldn't be here right now. After 2 brushes with death, I felt nothing for the woman I'd once had a crush on. I was wrong. "It won't happen again," Chloe said after a long silence. "It doesn't matter. We're done. After the divorce, you can save whoever you want. I don't care." Chloe tightened her arms around me. "I know you're angry, but it's not what you think. And I don't agree to a divorce." "What? What right do you have to disagree?" I exploded. When we were both drowning, she didn't hesitate to save Julian, putting his life before mine. I saw no reason to continue this marriage, especially since she had chosen him in front of everyone. "Chloe, I'm telling you, this divorce is happening." She looked annoyed, but she knew I had every right to be furious, so she held her tongue. When I got out of the tub, she was on me again, refusing to let go. "Let's just get some sleep. We can talk about this tomorrow, okay? Get off me. Don't make me get rough," I snapped, pushing her away. Chloe scoffed. "You think you could actually do anything to me right now?" I gritted my teeth and reached for a place I knew would make her weak. Her expression changed instantly, a blush creeping up her neck. She suddenly went pliant in my arms and pressed a soft kiss to the corner of my mouth. "All right, stop fighting. I'll find a way to make it up to you." My head was starting to ache, a sharp throbbing in my temples. I couldn't imagine how pathetic my older self must have been for her to think that. After everything that had happened, she could still win me over with a few sweet words. I clenched my fists and shoved her off me without a second thought. Chloe's expression hardened. She suddenly pinned me beneath her, looking down at me. "If you can't sleep, then let's do something to help." Just as her lips were about to touch mine, my face went pale. A sharp pain shot through my head and a cold sweat broke out on my forehead. I cried out, my whole body shaking. Chloe seemed to snap out of it. "Did I hurt you?" For a second, the panic in her eyes made me think she might actually care, but I quickly dismissed the thought. I was imagining things. A woman who didn't care if I lived or died wouldn't care about a cut on my wrist. I bit my lip, saying nothing. Chloe sounded anxious. "What's wrong? Tell me." Before I could answer, the faint coppery smell of blood filled the air. Chloe stared, stunned, at the hand she was gripping at the gauze wrapped around my wrist. She had always assumed I was just faking it for sympathy, that the wound wasn't real. Her face grim, she slowly unwrapped the gauze. It was soaked through with fresh blood. When she finally saw the gash beneath, her pupils contracted sharply. "Ethan, you really did it." I looked at her coldly, yanking my hand back despite the searing pain. "Are you satisfied now?" A storm brewed in her eyes. "Who gave you permission to kill yourself?" I stared right back at her. "Do you really care? You just stood by and watched me drown." My words hit their mark. I saw her flinch, her gaze wavering for a fraction of a second. A moment later she spoke, her voice slow. "I'll call a doctor." The doctor didn't come alone. Julian Vance was with him. He changed into fresh clothes. His dark hair perfectly styled, he looked like a charming playboy. He hovered nervously in the doorway. "Chloe, is he all right?" Chloe nodded, her gaze heavy. You should go home and get some rest. I can handle this. But I feel terrible. After all, Mr. Hayes almost drowned because of me. Julian sighed, playing the part of the concerned gentleman. Before he could finish, I cut him off coldly. You're a hell of an actor. It's a shame there weren't any security cameras by the pool. I wonder what Chloe would think if she heard what you said to me right before you pushed me in. The color drained from Julian's face. He mumbled an excuse and left in a hurry. He was probably used to getting his way with Chloe by manipulating things behind the scenes, but I wasn't playing his game anymore. My directness threw him off completely. He had no idea why I'd changed so drastically, and he knew if he stuck around, he'd slip up. I was glad to be rid of him. I couldn't stand the sight of either of them. Chloe gave me a long, searching look. You get some rest. I'll come back tomorrow. I nodded. Fine. And bring the divorce papers with you. If you don't draw them up, I'll have my lawyer do it. Her fortune was probably immense if her lawyers drafted the papers. It would be cleaner and she couldn't accuse me of being after her money. A flicker of something crossed Chloe's eyes, but all she said was, I'm not divorcing you, so you can just forget about it. Then she turned, closed the door, and left. It seemed even she knew that her presence would only annoy me. A little while later, a message from Chloe appeared on my phone telling me to wait for her here the next day. I picked up my phone and tried to unlock it using my birthday as the password, but it didn't work. Then I tried Chloe's birthday. It unlocked instantly. I let out a bitter laugh at how pathetic my older self had been and immediately changed the password to my own birthday. The next day, I didn't wait for her. Instead, I called Jessica. I got straight to the point. This is Ethan Hayes. Do you have time to grab a coffee? What can I do for you, Mr. Hayes? Jessica's voice was a little husky with a playful edge to it. I wanted to thank you. You saved my life yesterday. I like to make sure people know where they stand with me. I really couldn't fathom how my 27-year-old self had become so debased for the sake of love. All right. There's a coffee shop nearby. When I got there, Jessica was already waiting. Well, look at you, Mr. Hayes. Punctual. I sat down across from her. So, how could I thank you? Whatever you think is fair. Jessica said, studying me. Then she frowned. You seem different somehow. Do I? I ran a hand through my hair. I didn't want anyone to know about the amnesia, especially since I had no idea what my history with this woman was. Based on yesterday, we couldn't have been close. I forced a smile. How so? Probably just shaken up from yesterday. Ethan, what's really going on? Jessica's expression turned serious. We've known each other for years. You can tell me anything. I froze. We've known each other for years? I don't remember that at all. Jessica tapped a finger on the table. Don't tell me you've forgotten me. I gave her a wry smile. Should I? She studied me with an intensity that made me feel like she could see right through me. Ethan, something's wrong. Ever since you woke up after the suicide attempt, you haven't been yourself. Is this because of Chloe? I let out a sharp laugh. Even you can tell I'm different, but she's completely oblivious. It just proves this marriage is over. Jessica looked at me as if I'd said something unbelievable. Ethan, are you serious about divorcing her? Are you surprised? After what happened yesterday, don't you think I have grounds for it? I said calmly, sipping my coffee. She shook her head. The way you used to be so completely obsessed with her, I never thought you'd actually go through with a divorce. A teasing smile played on her lips. When you married Chloe, you were completely lovesick. You followed her everywhere. Hated every guy who even looked at her, especially Julian. Was I really that crazy? Jessica, don't exaggerate. It was more than that. You were incredibly possessive, but also a total doormat, terrified she would leave you. To be fair, even though she always seemed annoyed by you, she never actually tried to leave. After you married her, you cut off all your old friends, especially the women. We were friends in college, we went through a lot together. Even after I told you how I felt and you turned me down. We were still supposed to be friends, but you just ghosted everyone. I had to fight my way into Chloe's social circle after graduation just to see you occasionally. And even then, you'd pretend you didn't know me. She told me more about our past and the pieces started to click into place. So that was it. We'd met after I turned 18. Which is why I had no memory of her. So I met Jessica in college. She told me she liked me and I turned her down. Then I reconnected with Chloe and we got married on a whim. After marrying her, I became a pathetic joke, mocked by everyone, with no dignity left. I was so desperately in love with her that I cut off all my old friends. Jessica had no other way to reach me, so she forced her way into Chloe's social circle. So you must know me pretty well then. My eyes lit up. With my amnesia, I was completely in the dark about my current life. I didn't even know what I did for a living. With her help, things could get a lot easier. I didn't want Chloe to find out about the amnesia. That would only complicate things. Time flew by. I didn't say it out loud, but Jessica seemed to understand I was in some kind of trouble. She didn't press for details, but she filled me in on what my life had been like for the past few years. I got the general picture and couldn't help but feel a strange sense of awe. I couldn't believe my 27-year-old self was capable of loving someone that much. My 18-year-old mind couldn't even comprehend it. I'd aged 9 years in an instant, only to become the exact type of pathetic, desperate person I used to look down on. It was unacceptable. Just as Jessica and I were laughing about something, a familiar voice cut through the air. "Isn't that Ethan? What's he doing with Jessica?" I turned to see Chloe standing there with Julian right beside her. Chloe glared at me. "I seem to recall telling you I don't like you spending time with her." I frowned. "We're getting a divorce. It's none of your business." I couldn't believe I had actually cut off my friends just because Chloe didn't approve. Maintaining boundaries is one thing, but telling me I couldn't have any female friends at all? Chloe turned her blank expression to Jessica. "You saved my husband yesterday. I thanked you with the Westwood Project. There's no need for you two to meet privately." Jessica just smiled, a defiant look in her eyes. "Yesterday you thanked me as his wife. Today I'm here with him as his friend. Don't confuse the two." The tension in the air became palpable. I couldn't stand the sight of them. I grabbed my coat. "Jessica, let's go somewhere else." Chloe grabbed my arm, her eyes cold. "Where do you think you're going?" "What's it to you?" I glanced at Julian standing behind her. "Go spend time with your boy toy and send over those divorce papers soon. Otherwise, he'll always be the other man." Chloe opened her mouth to say something, but I had no interest in hearing it. I shook her hand off and left with Jessica. I didn't get home until evening. This new life still felt completely alien to me. I needed to find my own place in the next couple of days. Otherwise, I'd be homeless after the divorce. She approached me with a cold glare. "So, you decided to come home." Her accusatory tone pissed me off. "Can you stop trying to control me? I just went out with a friend. What does it have to do with you?" As soon as the words left my mouth, a sharp pain lanced through my temples and blurry images flashed through my mind. I stumbled back a step, grabbing the arm of the sofa to steady myself. It felt like I'd heard those exact words before. My eyes suddenly bloodshot. I remembered. A clear image surfaced in my memory. Chloe saying those exact same words to me. She'd come home late from some work event, and when I asked where she'd been, she would shut me down with that same impatient tone, and now I was throwing those words right back at her. Chloe seemed to realize it too. Her throat worked for a moment before she finally spoke. "My meeting with Julian wasn't what you think. Our families have been connected for generations. Some things are unavoidable, but I've already been trying to see him less. You don't have to be like this." I cut her off. "If you're only feeling guilty because you didn't save me from the pool and that's why you don't want a divorce, don't bother. There's no need to make amends." I shook my head. "You'd be better off just giving me a generous settlement in the divorce." After that, Chloe and I ended things on another sour note. I honestly couldn't figure out why she was so against the divorce. She was in love with Julian and couldn't stand me. Shouldn't a divorce be exactly what she wanted? I couldn't understand her, and I didn't want to waste any more energy trying. The next day, I found a way to move out. When Chloe got home and discovered I was gone, she called me immediately. "Ethan, what is this?" "What do you mean?" "We're getting divorced. We can't keep living together," I said. "Just get the papers drawn up as soon as you can." She hung up before I could finish. I tossed my phone on the table, done with her drama. I had just finished unpacking at my new place when there was a knock on the door. I thought it was a delivery. But when I opened the door, Chloe was standing there, her face a mask of suppressed fury, my expression sour. What are you doing here? Wait, how did you find me? Chloe strode past me into the apartment, glancing around at the modest furnishings. You'd rather live in this dump than stay with me? Is this tantrum really worth it? I took a deep breath. Chloe, I'm not throwing a tantrum. I am serious about the divorce. At this point, I was genuinely confused. Why are you fighting this? I asked her. Isn't this what you've always wanted? When did I ever say I wanted a divorce? Chloe looked at me like I was insane. Are you still angry about Julian? Her expression grew serious. I thought you understood. I didn't intentionally choose not to save you that day. When I just stood there, cold and unresponsive, she sighed, took my shoulders, and guided me to the sofa. Ethan, stop this. Come home with me. Nothing like that will ever happen again. It had happened countless times before. Wasn't it a little late to start making promises now? I pushed her hands away. No thanks. Just have the divorce papers ready. Chloe suddenly cupped my face in her hands. Ethan, do you really have to take this tantrum this far? I told you I'm not throwing a tantrum. You're really going to sleep here all by yourself. What other choice do I have? Chloe suddenly nibbled on my earlobe. Honey, come home. You won't be able to sleep here alone. I almost laughed. Maybe this place seems like a dump to a princess like you. But it's perfectly fine for me. And it's close to my office, Chloe sighed. Do I have to spell it out for you? Ethan, you can't sleep without me. My eyes widened as if I'd heard something straight out of a horror movie. I can't sleep without you. Ever since I woke up, I'd been under the impression that Chloe and I were a miserable, resentful couple. I loved her and she couldn't stand me. But from the way she was talking now, you'd think we were a deeply in love couple that just happened to fight a lot. Chloe started to say something else, but I pulled her to her feet and pushed her toward the door. Chloe, I've made up my mind. I'm divorcing you. I can't live like this for one more day. After kicking Chloe out, I started settling into my new apartment. I got a handle on things at work, but catching up was still a struggle. So I needed to put in a lot of extra hours. That night, I decided to order some food and scrolled through Facebook. A photo posted by Julian caught my eye. It was a picture of him and Chloe, though it was subtle, only showing her in profile. But her profile was so striking you could recognize her from just a shadow. Julian had also posted a cryptic caption. If only we hadn't missed our chance back then. Maybe I'd be the one by your side now. But it's not too late. We still have time to make things right. I scoffed. He was basically broadcasting that Chloe and I had a loveless marriage, that we'd divorce soon, and that he'd be waiting for her. I liked the post, left a comment with a bunch of laughing emojis, and then immediately blocked him. Then I found Chloe's contact and blocked her on everything. The next morning when I got to my office building, Chloe was already there waiting for me with a grim expression. The moment she saw me, she strode over. You blocked me. Sorry. I said, deciding to be direct. I shouldn't have blocked you. Her expression softened slightly. So, we're not divorced yet. Are you here with the papers? I was just about to take some time off so I'm free. We can sign them and go straight to the courthouse. Chloe's face instantly turned thunderous. Ethan, unblock my number. No, honey. Her voice suddenly softened. I'm sorry. Please just unblock me. I rolled my eyes. I don't even know your number. The moment the words were out, Chloe's expression changed. You don't remember my number? Really? She gripped my shoulders, her eyes searching mine as if she'd finally noticed something was truly wrong. How could you forget my number? You used to know it by heart. Crap. My heart skipped a beat. She was on to me. I quickly looked away. I just forgot. We're getting a divorce. Am I not allowed to forget your number? Ethan, what is wrong with you? Chloe stared at me intently. Ever since you woke up, you've been like a completely different person. Afraid she'd figure it out, I pulled my arm away. Isn't that normal? People change after a traumatic experience. Did you expect me to go back to being your pathetic, spineless lapdog? Chloe looked at me, a dangerous light in her eyes. Ignoring my excuses, she snatched my phone and tried to unlock it with a familiar pattern, only to find the password was incorrect. She frowned. You changed the password. I did. Your old password was my birthday, Chloe said coldly, though I saw a flash of hurt in her eyes. I didn't want to argue about this. Chloe, give me back my phone. I have to get to work. If you wanted, I could buy this entire company for you. Do you really need this job? She said, trying a few more passwords. Our anniversary? Incorrect password. She pursed her lips, then tried my birthday. It worked. She gave me a strange, lingering look, then changed the password back to our anniversary without a word. I snatched the phone back and tried to unlock it, but it wouldn't open. Chloe, what the hell gives you the right to change my password? I demanded, furious. The password is our anniversary. You can change it back if you want. I froze. How was I supposed to know our anniversary? I had amnesia. All I knew about her was from a high school crush years ago. Now that I knew what a terrible person she was, her pretty face, her great body, and her family's money meant nothing to me. I had no desire to learn trivial details about her life. You've forgotten, haven't you? Her gaze was sharp as a hawk's, trying to pierce through my defenses. She gripped my shoulders. You have amnesia? She said the words with absolute certainty. It was true. I had amnesia. Now that Chloe knew, the divorce process came to a grinding halt. Knowing I had amnesia gave her the perfect excuse to refuse the divorce. You just don't remember. It doesn't mean you don't love me, were her exact words. Ethan, once you get your memory back, you won't want to divorce me. Her words repulsed me. I was terrified that if my memory returned, I would revert to being that pathetic 27-year-old version of myself. That man was too tragic. I would rather never remember him. When I got back to my apartment from work, I opened the door and was about to drop my bag on the sofa when I saw a dark figure sitting there. It looked up at me suddenly. Ethan, she said. I jumped. When did you get here? Wait, how did you get a key to my apartment? Chloe said. I contacted the landlord. I was losing my patience. Give me the key. I'm changing the locks tomorrow. She said nothing, just watched me with that complicated expression. How much have you forgotten? I haven't forgotten anything, I said impatiently. I'm divorcing you because I don't love you anymore. How many times do I have to repeat myself? Before I could finish, Chloe grabbed my arm and wrapped her arms around my waist. She held on tightly, burying her face against my side. The position was intimate, but Chloe didn't seem to have any ulterior motives. She just seemed to want to be close to me. Don't say that. You have amnesia, so I'll let it slide, she said, her voice hoarse. When you get your memory back, we'll settle this. I was at the end of my rope. Chloe, will you ever stop? You don't love me. You treat me like dirt. Why should I stay with you? So, what if I had amnesia? I hate the person I was, the one who followed you around with no sense of self. I like who I am now. I don't love you. Do you understand? I've wanted to leave you for a long time. At that, Chloe held me even tighter. No, we're just fighting, Ethan. I already explained that day at the pool. It wasn't intentional. She cupped my face in her hands. I didn't want to have to say this because I thought we understood each other. Even though I saved Julian, I thought you'd know there had to be a reason to misunderstand. She rested her forehead against mine and sighed. But now you have amnesia. You don't remember me, so I feel I need to explain. Julian and IIT's not what you think. The Sterling and Vance families go way back. His grandfather did a great service for mine, and we were technically engaged as children, but I never had romantic feelings for him. After I married you, my grandfather felt he owed their family, so he asked me to look out for Julian. That's all it is, nothing more. I scoffed. Who's going to believe that? You clearly value his life more than mine. Chloe squeezed my cheek gently and sighed. It seems you're still upset about what happened. I'm sorry. I didn't know you had amnesia then. I should have explained everything immediately. I had no desire to hear her excuses, but Chloe was insistent. She held me so tightly I couldn't move, so I had no choice but to listen. When I heard someone fell in the pool, my first instinct was to check if you were okay. When they said it was Julian, I was relieved, but he's like a grandson to my grandfather, so I went to help him. I had no idea you were in the water too. Just a few simple sentences, and suddenly none of it was her fault. She saw the disbelief on my face and was silent for a long moment. You don't believe me. Why should I? I asked coldly. Everyone there saw you dive in after him without a second thought. It had nothing to do with me. And after Jessica pulled me out, You were so cold. Chloe, I'm not blind, I can feel your disdain. Chloe's throat worked and she gently wrapped her arms around me again. This time, her embrace wasn't forceful, it was impossibly gentle. It was the first time I had ever seen her show any vulnerability. Ethan. I wasn't being cold. I was angry because you almost died, Chloe said, her voice low. If you hadn't been okay, I think I would have killed someone that day. I shook my head. Chloe, if you really care about me, then give me a divorce. Let me go. Let me be free. Anything but that. That's the one thing I can't do, Chloe whispered in my ear, still holding on. When you get your memory back, then we can talk about divorce. You really think that if I get my memory back, I won't want a divorce? I asked, frowning. She didn't answer, but it was obvious that's exactly what she thought. I laughed coldly. It's useless, Chloe. If fate made me forget, maybe I'm not supposed to remember. Maybe this is my chance to finally get away from you. I resisted the idea of remembering. I didn't want to go back to being that 27-year-old man. Chloe had no choice but to back off for the time being. I managed a few days of normal life before Julian Vance tracked me down. Ethan, we need to talk. With dark circles under his eyes. He was waiting for me outside my office building, and I didn't want to make a scene. Whatever you have to say, make it quick. Julian let out a sarcastic laugh. You must be feeling pretty smug. Chloe unilaterally canceled all contracts with the Vance family. Now everyone knows we've lost our biggest supporter. I frowned. I was surprised, but I kept my voice even. What does that have to do with me? You should talk to her. But she said she won't help. Did you say something to her? I was getting annoyed. I thought you were here to apologize, but it seems you're just looking out for yourself. We have nothing to talk about. I turned to leave, but Julian's voice, sharp and desperate, stopped me. Ethan, why you? How does a nobody from the middle of nowhere get to be her husband? Why? What do you have that I don't? My feet froze. A sharp ringing filled my ears, making it impossible to think. I felt like I'd heard this before. Right after Chloe and I got married, her rich friends were always mocking me. Back then, Julian had pretended to be my friend, acting all understanding and giving me advice, but his advice always ended up making me look like an idiot in public. I became insecure, timid, constantly walking on eggshells. I grew paranoid, terrified that Chloe would leave me. The images flashed through my mind, fragmented but vivid. I was sure they were my memories, just not fully restored yet. Julian ran up behind me. Ethan, I can apologize, but you have to tell Chloe. Get lost. I shoved his hand away, my eyes burning. I couldn't care less about what's going on between you and Chloe. And do me a favor, tell her I never want to see either of you again. The farther away you both are, the better. Just as I turned to go, I nearly collided with a familiar figure. I heard a familiar light laugh. How do we always manage to walk into a scene like this? Right, Chloe? It was Jessica. Before I could react, another hand grabbed me and pulled me away. By the time I registered what was happening, Chloe was standing beside me. She shot a cold look at Jessica. Stay away from him. Jessica shrugged. I wasn't doing anything. Look at you so tense. Then she turned her smile on the pale-faced Julian. Why are you always bothering Ethan behind Chloe's back? He's the one causing trouble for me, isn't he? Julian said, his face hard, though it's often when he looked at Chloe. Chloe, we grew up together. We were childhood friends. What happened before was just a misunderstanding. Can't you just let it go? Chloe's reply was cold. I've done everything I was supposed to. I don't owe you anything else. I helped you out of respect for your grandfather. But that doesn't give you the right to be greedy. Greedy? Julian's face contorted with anger, but he couldn't find a retort. He clenched his fists, shot me a hateful glare, and stormed off. After he was gone, I finally understood why he had been so desperate to find me. Apparently, Chloe had told everyone what really happened at the pool. She told them it was never a choice between me and Julian. She would always save me. She said she only saved Julian because she didn't know I was in the water. If she had known I was drowning, there would have been no choice to make. She would have saved me. Her words were blunt, completely dismissing the idea that Julian was important to her, let alone more important than me. I had been the laughingstock of our social circle because of that incident. My own wife didn't seem to care if I lived or die. Everyone was just waiting to see when she'd finally dump me. I never expected such a dramatic turn of events. All those people cared about was Chloe's opinion. By saying what she did, she was publicly defending me and humiliating Julian. No wonder Julian was so riled. It wasn't just his business interests that had taken a hit. But I still didn't get it. If Chloe really had no feelings for him, why had I spent years treating him like my biggest rival? More fragmented images flashed in my mind and a dull ache started in my head. I shook it, trying to clear the fog. Seeing my distress, a flicker of worry crossed Chloe's face. She steadied me. "Are you okay? I can take you to the hospital." "I'm not going." I pulled my arm away. "Just keep Julian away from me from now on. That's all I need from you." "Don't worry, I won't give him the chance," Chloe said, her voice firm. "I won't make that mistake again." Jessica, who was still standing nearby, chimed in. "You can choose not to make the same mistake twice, but that doesn't mean every mistake can be forgiven." I thought she had a point. Chloe shot her a cold look. "I gave you the Westwood project as thanks for saving him." "Don't push it." Jessica laughed. "I saved his life. I'm his hero. He can't swim. If I hadn't jumped in, you'd be a widow right now." "Is that really the tone you want to take with the person who saved your husband?" Chloe's eyes narrowed, a dangerous glint in them. "How do you know he can't swim?" A rare mischievous smile touched Jessica's lips. "How do you think?" she sighed dramatically. "Well, since you two are getting divorced anyway, I guess I don't have to hide it. I've known him for a long time. I even told him I liked him, but then he fell for you." She clicked hurt on and looked at me. "Ethan, if you're starting to think you made a mistake back then, I'm willing to give you a second chance." In the next instant, Chloe lunged at her. The two of them started fighting, a full-on brawl. I'd never seen the eternally composed Chloe lose control like that. I'd never seen two women fight like that before, so I just let them go at it. I had no interest in getting in the middle of their childish squabble. I just shook my head and went back to the office. But I should have known Chloe would be one step ahead of me. When I got back to my building, she was already there waiting. There was a fresh bruise on her cheek, but her eyes lit up when she saw me. "I'll come pick you up when you're done with work." I looked at the bruise on her face. Chloe looked away, a little self-conscious. "Don't worry, I'm fine. You should see the other girl." I scoffed. "Who said I was worried about you?" "Don't flatter yourself." Chloe's expression fell, but she persisted. "I'll be here to pick you up after work." I was losing my patience. I said I want a divorce. "Which part of that are you not understanding?" A hurt look crossed Chloe's face and she lowered her voice. "Ethan, you have amnesia. You don't remember how you feel about me. Once you remember, everything will be fine. Why would I want to remember? Just because you and Julian are supposedly innocent. The hurt from the past was real, and my decision to divorce you is final. Or do you think that if I remember, I'll go back to being that pathetic doormat who would forgive you for anything with just a snap of your fingers?" "I never thought that," Chloe said, her voice raspy. Looking at her, I suddenly felt a wave of exhaustion. I looked her straight in the eye. "Chloe, when I first woke up, I'd lost everything. I was terrified. When I found out you were my wife, I was happy. I remembered you from before and I thought you were a good person. Chloe, I always had this dream of marriage, of finding a kind wife. I never imagined my wife would be someone like you. I'm disappointed in you, but I'm also disappointed in myself. I always despised people who were desperate in love. But, in the name of love, I let you destroy me, let you turn me into someone I didn't even recognize. Since I woke up, I haven't felt a single ounce of love from you, just annoyance and impatience. So what if you and Julian are innocent? You failed as a wife. You let him hurt me, and you hurt me too. I see no reason to continue this marriage. Let's get a divorce." I had said everything that was on my mind. I thought I saw something break behind Chloe's eyes. I turned and walked away without a backward glance. I refused to hear anything more about Chloe. The people in that circle were all social climbers. After what happened, they started trying to get information from me. Some of them tried to suck up to me, but I ignored them all. I just focused on my work and waited for the day Chloe would finally agree to the divorce. At the end of the workday, I stretched. I was thinking of asking Jessica out to dinner to properly thank her. But as soon as I stepped out of the building, I saw a black luxury car parked at the curb. My co-workers were whispering and giving me knowing looks. I couldn't let my annoyance show, so I just forced a smile. I saw Chloe leaning against the car door, her stunning figure and beautiful face turning heads as always. I cursed under my breath and tried to walk past without looking at her. Chloe immediately walked toward me. Ethan. She called my name with a gentleness I had never heard from her before. I frowned, my patience wearing thin. Are you here with the divorce papers? The smile on her face faltered for a second, but she quickly recovered and changed the subject. She produced a set of car keys from somewhere. Ethan, do you like it? A chorus of impressed gasps rose from my co-workers nearby. Because of the amnesia, I'd been keeping my distance from them lately. I couldn't believe Chloe would pull such a tacky stunt. I answered instinctively, I don't like SU-verses. That's what my mouth said. But my heart skipped a beat when I saw the keys. The feeling of excitement was real. So, I liked SU-verses. That was a surprise. My 18-year-old self had been all about sports cars. A crowd was starting to form. I felt uncomfortable and told Chloe to leave, but she wouldn't budge. I had no choice but to grab her hand and pull her aside to talk in private. Chloe led me to the car, and the next thing I knew we were sitting in a restaurant. Just have dinner with me, Chloe said. A lonely look on her face. I frowned. If I have dinner with you, will you agree to the divorce? Chloe was silent for a long time before she answered. If you don't have this dinner with me, I will never divorce you. Fine. You said it, I replied, picking up my fork. She had clearly planned this. There was wine, candles, and elaborate floral arrangements. It was one of those romantic, fancy dinners where the food looks better than it tastes and there's never enough of it. I finished quickly and wiped my mouth. I'm done. I'm leaving. As I stood up to leave, Chloe looked at me, her expression wounded. Ethan, have you forgotten what today is? What day? I asked, confused. Chloe's grip on her silverware tightened. After a moment, she said quietly, It's our anniversary. Our anniversary. I searched my blank memory, but I had no idea how we might have celebrated it in the past. Seeing the sad look on her face, I resisted the urge to make a sarcastic comment. Well, that's fitting, I said quietly. Hey, last supper. She remained silent, a shadow falling over her eyes that, from my angle, only served to accentuate her exquisite, delicate features. I knew she was trying to win me back, but I truly believed our marriage was beyond saving. Excuse me. I need to use the restroom, I said, turning to leave. The restroom had a large mirror. I turned on the tap and splashed cold water on my face, the shock of it helping to clear my head. I looked at my reflection and told myself not to turn back. I splashed my face one more time, and as I turned to leave, I saw Chloe walking toward me. Her gaze was deep, filled with a thick, unreadable emotion. Ethan, please. Just before I could react, my back was pressed against the wall. She kissed me, her arms wrapping around my waist, clinging to me. Her kiss was soft, but her movements were desperate. Chloe, let me go. I don't know how much time passed. I was enveloped in her sweet scent, but all I wanted to do was push her away. Chloe, it's no use. I knew she was only this desperate because I had amnesia. She thought that once my memory returned, I wouldn't be able to leave her. It's useless. I know myself. Even if the amnesia is the only reason I don't love you anymore, I have a feeling that even if my memory came back right now, I would still divorce you. The moment I said it, I saw a flicker of panic in Chloe's expression. I had never seen her look like that. She grabbed my hand, her fingers lacing through mine. Her grip so tight it hurt. No, Ethan, you love me. We love each other. You've just forgotten. In love. I almost laughed. I took a step back, then my head hit the wall behind me. A sharp pain shot through my skull, and the color drained from my face. Chloe panicked. Ethan, what's wrong? Are you okay? I pushed her away, gritting my teeth against the pain. I'm fine. Don't touch me. Chloe could only stand there, holding me gently, not wanting to hurt me but unwilling to let go. Her breath was hot on my skin as she kissed me again, this time with a feverish intensity. My body went limp, unable to resist her advances. but the throbbing pain in the back of my head was causing clear, sharp images to flash before my eyes. I felt weak and steady on my feet. Chloe supported my head with one hand while her kisses grew more intense, and as she did, the fragmented images began to connect, coalescing into sharp, clear memories. I remembered our first time. How we got together, how we got married. I remembered how Julian and his friends had mocked me, how I'd embarrassed myself in front of her parents, how her friends had laughed at me. I remembered all the fights we had about Julian. So that's how it was. A dull ache spread through my chest. All the pain of the past was laid bare before me, a torment that even amnesia couldn't erase. My first time with Chloe was a glitch. It was at a party. She was drunk, and I'd had a little too much to drink myself. She looked me in the eye and drunkenly asked me to take her to her room. I don't know who made the first move, but the next thing I knew, she was in my arms. I was so nervous I could barely breathe. It was clearly Chloe's first time to the way she clutched the sheets, her eyes wide with a hint of panic. But in the blink of an eye, she was back to being the cool, untouchable ice queen. The next morning, Chloe saw me and, without any other reaction, simply said we should date. I'd had a crush on her for years, so of course I agreed. After that, we fell into a passionate romance, just like any normal couple, but we were both incredibly possessive. She didn't want me getting too close to my female friends, and I didn't want her getting close to any other men. We were loyal to each other, but Julian's arrival shattered that equilibrium. She said her grandfather treated him like his own grandson, so she couldn't just cut him off. Her reasoning was sound, but I couldn't accept it. Ever since we got married, I'd been deeply insecure about my background. She came from a wealthy, powerful family. I was just a regular guy who'd only had the chance to meet her because I'd gotten into a good school. Otherwise, a guy like me would never have even crossed paths with a woman like her. And Julian was one of them, a rich kid from her world. Even though Chloe told me his family had fallen on hard times and needed her help, his pedigree was still there. Fallen or not, he was still everything I wasn't. The gap between us made me lose myself. I became unreasonable. I started checking her phone, trying to control who she talked to, even her colleagues and employees. I knew they were all innocent, but I was in a bad place emotionally. I couldn't control myself. All the sweet memories faded away, replaced by constant fighting and the humiliation of being an outsider in her world. I remembered our last fight. She told me she didn't want to have children. I demanded, "What if you got pregnant? If we had a child, would you finally be able to cut Julian out of your life?" Chloe looked at me with such disappointment. "You think a child is just a tool for you to secure your position? In that case, I hope I never get pregnant. And if I do, I'll get an abortion." Her words were so cruel they pushed me to the brink of despair. At the same time, everyone in our circle was saying that even if the Vance family went bankrupt, Chloe would bail them out. I begged her not to, but she went anyway. The double blow was too much for me to handle. I threatened to kill myself if she went. I had made empty suicide threats before when I was emotional. Chloe had put up with it once or twice, but this time she didn't take me seriously. She just left. And then I actually tried to kill myself, was saved, and woke up with no memory of the past 5 years. As it all came flooding back, my heart ached until it was numb. No wonder I'd wanted to forget. No wonder my mind had erased it all. The memories were just too painful. I was shaking uncontrollably. Chloe noticed something was wrong. "Ethan, what is it?" "Chloe, you make me sick," I said, looking her in the eye and clutching my chest. I let out a sigh. Actually, I make myself sick too. I closed my eyes and passed out. When I woke up again, I was in a hospital bed. A doctor was examining me, and Chloe was holding my hand. Her face etched with worry. The moment she saw I was awake, she called for the doctor. "Riley, he's awake." Dr. Riley checked my eyes. "He's fine. It was just a shock to his system. He had some minor swelling in his brain before, and the knock to his head seems to have cleared it up. He just needs to rest." Chloe let out a sigh of relief, then turned to me. "When did you hit your head? Why didn't you tell me?" I pulled my hand away, my expression even colder than it had been during my amnesia. Chloe seemed to realize what had happened, her lips pressing into a thin line. She started to ask me something tentatively, but I cut her off. "Chloe, let's get a divorce." Chloe's throat worked. her voice laced with bitterness. I told you, you just don't remember right now. I remember now, I said, looking her straight in the eye. I remember everything, and I still want a divorce. Chloe's eyes widened in disbelief, a tremor running through her. I had never seen such a look of devastation in her eyes, but I knew I was making the right decision. I closed my eyes. Being with you is too painful, Chloe. Let's get a divorce. I had said the word divorce countless times. Each time Chloe had reacted strongly, but this time there was only a desolate, hopeless silence. Dr. Riley, who was standing nearby, seemed unable to take it anymore. Ethan, don't be too harsh. Chloe has already apologized. Before she could finish, Chloe cut her off. It's my fault. I glanced at Chloe. When I'd first woken up, her friend had warned me in much the same way. All of her friends had warned me not to push my luck. I paused, then softened my tone. Chloe, do you still think we shouldn't get a divorce? After I left the hospital, I didn't see Chloe for a long time. I had made myself perfectly clear, and I assumed she was finally starting to accept it. I figured it wouldn't be long before the divorce papers arrived. My life settled into a peaceful routine. Work was getting back on track. The only headache was Jessica. After she found out my memory was back, she started calling me constantly. So you really did have amnesia. I had my doubts, but I guess it was true, she said with that same flirtatious smile. So, after you're divorced, what do you say you give me a chance? I'm not divorced yet, I corrected her. The papers aren't even signed. What you're doing right now makes you the other woman. I suggest you back off. I wasn't saying it because I had any lingering feelings for Chloe, but because I had no desire to jump into another relationship. Besides, while Jessica hadn't technically been a home wrecker, she had inserted herself into my life before things with Chloe were officially over. I was grateful to her for saving my life, but that was it. I'm grateful to you, but I don't have feelings for you. You don't have to be so harsh, Jessica said, feigning a wounded expression, but then she seemed to relax. I was just taking a shot, Ethan. I got over you a long time ago. I was just pissed off seeing how miserable you were. I get it, I said, giving her a quick hug. Just then, I saw Chloe walking toward us in the distance. I felt a surge of annoyance and was about to leave when Chloe suddenly rushed to the side and started retching. Jessica's expression soured. Did she get so disgusted by the sight of us hugging that it made her sick? No, I don't feel well, Chloe mumbled, then her eyes widened as if a sudden thought had occurred to her. I exchanged a look with Jessica. Her face fell and she stared at Chloe, who was looking incredibly ill. You're not. Chloe's eyes lit up as if the same possibility had just dawned on her. Hey, baby? I shook my head fiercely. No, it couldn't be. I closed my eyes. The world spinning around me. I suddenly remembered the reason I had been so desperate, so suicidal. It was because Chloe had told me she never wanted children and that if she ever got pregnant, she would have an abortion. Seeing my reaction, Chloe ignored her own nausea and stepped toward me, her voice choked with emotion. Ethan, I was irritable, unwilling to face the possibility that she was pregnant. Other than to sign the divorce papers, I don't want to see you again. Chloe wiped her mouth and sadly produced another set of keys. You don't like the SUV? What about a sports car? I don't like that either, I said coldly. I don't like anything you have to offer. Nothing. Chloe's eyes were red-rimmed. Not the SUV. Not the sports car the house company shares. Anything I have. It's yours. I don't know what else to do. She was practically begging. I'll do anything. I just don't want a divorce. I didn't want to make a scene on the street, so I grabbed her arm and pulled her into the car. As the car started moving, she looked even more pale. I sighed and asked stiffly, Are you okay? Chloe immediately sat up straighter and shook her head. I'm fine. Then she placed a hand on her stomach, a hopeful look on her face. I was at a loss for words. After a moment I calmed down. I took a deep breath and said evenly, Chloe, you don't have to do this. I don't really blame you, except for you saving Julian, which hurt a lot. I've had time to think about everything else. We're just not right for each other. You never made me feel secure, but I also lacked confidence. I became paranoid and did a lot of things that drove you crazy. I'm not blameless in this. We both made mistakes that lead us here. It was almost funny in a sad way. Even though I didn't want to be with Chloe, I couldn't stand the person I had become when I was with her. I was obsessed with her, my entire world revolving around our relationship as if nothing else mattered. That man had no appeal. I didn't even like him. So how could I expect Chloe to? I didn't dislike you, Chloe said, her voice hoarse. I was impatient, I admit, but I never once thought about divorcing you. I thought we'd spend the rest of our lives together, even if we fought all the time. But I don't want that life anymore, I said, shaking my head. Julian was just a symptom of the real problem. The truth is, we're from two different worlds. I can't trust you. And you can't be expected to cater to my insecurities forever. Over time, we'd just wear each other down and new problems would pop up. We're adults. Let's stop being so childish. The black Rolls-Royce pulled away. I had insisted on not letting Chloe drive me home. I stood on the sidewalk watching her car disappear down the street and sighed. If she really was pregnant. I wasn't close with my family. My parents had divorced when I was young, and both had remarried and started new families. After I met Chloe, I dreamed of having a perfect little family clinging to her like a lifeline. The tighter I held on, the faster she slipped through my fingers. I had always wanted a child, so when she said those words, I completely lost hope for us. I thought that even if Chloe didn't want the baby, as long as she had it, I could raise it on my own. That would be enough. But she had given me no hope at all. I should have been as ruthless as she was, but the thought of it being my child, I couldn't bring myself to be that cold. It was my day off, so I went to the hospital for a follow-up brain scan. I was on my way home with the results when I ran into someone I hadn't seen in a while. Ethan, what's that in your hand? Julian Vance appeared out of nowhere. I jumped instinctively, shoving the scan results into my bag. What's it to you? I said on my guard. Julian didn't look well. He looked unhinged, his face was gaunt, his eyes weren't focused, and his clothes were rumpled as if he'd been through something terrible. He saw me trying to hide the papers and lunged for my bag. He was acting crazy, and I easily pushed him away. He suddenly shrieked. Do you know Chloe's pregnant? She's pregnant with your child. Why? Why do I lose everything while you get her pregnant? I'm the one who was supposed to have it all. I'm her childhood friend. What right do you and nobody have to be with her? What? Chloe was really pregnant. A wave of complicated emotions washed over me, and I barely registered Julian's frantic ranting. Why are you telling me this? If you have a problem, take it up with Chloe. It has nothing to do with me, I said, taking a step back, not wanting to get drawn into his madness. This was Chloe's mess to clean up. The old me had been a fool, thinking that my presence alone would be enough to keep her faithful, but a woman like her could have any man she wanted. Wasting my time trying to fend off other men was a pointless exercise. Are you laughing at me? Julian let out a crazed laugh and stepped closer, his eyes boring into mine. You know she cut all ties with my family? That I'm a joke now? That she won't help me? Is that why you're mocking me? I frowned and took another step back. I tried to turn and leave, but Julian blocked my path. You're the one who told her everything, weren't you? Told her what? I asked, confused. You told her I was the one who was secretly sabotaging you, that I was the one who pushed you into the pool. You snitched on me, didn't you? I scoffed. You did all those things. Are you afraid of people finding out the truth? I knew it was you. He shrieked, lunging at me. I dodged out of the way, and then I saw the glint of a knife in his hand. He was trying to kill me. Ethan! I heard a desperate cry, but the pain I was expecting never came. When I opened my eyes, I saw that Chloe had thrown herself in front of me. I watched frozen, as the knife sank into her chest. Blood was pouring from the wound, her face deathly pale, but her eyes were fixed on me, making sure I was all right. She raised a hand as if to touch my face, but it fell lifeless to her side. Chloe. I screamed her name, but she couldn't hear me. Everything was a blur of white. I ran behind the paramedics, helping to push the gurney. There was blood everywhere on the gurney. On my hands. I gripped Chloe's hand, my own shaking so violently I couldn't tell if it was me or her. She squeezed my hand weakly and whispered, Ethan, are you okay? I'm fine. Don't talk. Just save your strength. Every word she spoke seemed to drain the life from her. I just wanted her to be okay. She raised her hand again, her fingers brushing my cheek. Don't cry, she whispered. It hurts my heart. Don't talk. Just don't talk. You have to be okay. I won't let anything happen to you. Do you hear me? Don't you dare make me live with this guilt for the rest of my life. But Chloe squeezed my hand again, mustering her last bit of strength. If I don't make it this time, you start a new life. You won't need a divorce if you're a widower. A faint smile touched her lips. At least we'll still be married. Don't say such stupid things. I had never been so terrified in my life. I was so afraid I was going to lose her. All the feelings I thought were gone came rushing back, and I realized they had only been buried. I didn't want to be hurt again, so I had tried to forget her. If more time had passed, maybe I really could have forgotten her. But now, just as I remembered everything, she was dying to save me. I couldn't let her go. I still wanted a divorce. I wanted her to walk out of that operating room safe and sound. Then we could sign the papers and go our separate ways. The light above the operating room or stayed on. I sat in the waiting room staring at it. My hands were covered in her blood. The rest of the world ceased to exist until Chloe's mother rushed in, demanding, "How is she? How is my daughter?" I finally looked up, my eyes vacant. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice hoarse. "We don't know yet. The doctors are doing everything they can, Mrs. Sterling's eyes rolled back in her head and she nearly fainted. I expected her to blame me, but she said nothing. After she composed herself, she gave me a look and told me to wait. I didn't know what she meant, but I did as I was told. A few minutes later, Mrs. Sterling reappeared, dragging Julian by the hair. She threw him to the floor in front of me. "He's the one who did this, isn't he?" I hesitated for a second, then nodded. Mrs. Sterling grabbed a fistful of his hair and slammed his head against the floor. "If anything happens to my daughter, I will destroy you, Mrs. Sterling. It was Ethan's fault, not mine. He was the one I wanted to kill. I would never hurt Chloe." Mrs. Sterling slapped him hard across the face twice. "Do you think that makes it any better? He's my son-in-law. You hurt him and you'll have to answer to me." I stared at her, stunned. I had always thought she disliked me. I never expected her to say something like that. I had been so sure she would blame me after all. Julian had been after me and Chloe had gotten hurt protecting me. "Why? Mrs. Sterling, you used to like me," Julian cried, his voice breaking. "That was before I saw you for who you really are," Mrs. Sterling said, her voice filled with contempt. "I did like you once. I watched you grow up. But you can't force love. My daughter doesn't love you, and I can't make her. And even if I didn't think the man she chose was right for her, at least I knew Ethan had a good heart. It turns out my daughter's judgment was better than mine." Mrs. Sterling's voice was filled with pain. "I know everything you've done. We let it slide out of respect for your grandfather, but I never imagined you would stoop this low. If anything happens to Chloe, I will make sure you spend the rest of your life in misery." As she spoke, she made a call to Chloe's father, who was already on his way. She even told him to make sure the Vance family didn't get off too easy, to make sure they knew this was all Julian's fault. Julian collapsed on the floor, sobbing like a madman. Mrs. Sterling shook her head, a look of pity on her face. "Your family spoiled you rotten. They never taught you right from wrong. And now look where it's gotten you." Julian was still babbling hysterically. I didn't want to hear any of it. I just stared at the operating room doors, praying that Chloe would be okay. The light above the doors went out. My eyes shot up. "Quiet," I said to the others. "The surgery is over." Mrs. Sterling immediately fell silent and gestured for the security guards to drag Julian away. She glanced at me but said nothing. We both understood each other without needing to say a word. We were from completely different worlds. Our relationship wasn't warm, but there was a mutual respect. The surgeon came out, and we both rushed forward. "How is she?" The doctor sighed. "We're closing her up now. The rest is up to her will to live." His words were gentle, but Mrs. Sterling and I both understood what he meant. After a long, heavy silence, Chloe was moved to a private room in the ICU. Mrs. Sterling and I went in. Neither of us spoke. We probably didn't have the energy. Her eyes were red and swollen. The fierce woman who had confronted Julian was gone, replaced by a mother terrified for her child. I sat by the bed, looking at Chloe's still face, and whispered, "I'm sorry." My voice was hoarse, choked with unshed tears. Mrs. Sterling didn't respond for a long moment. Finally, she said, "It would be a lie to say I don't blame you at all, but I know this is Julian's fault. I understand." "Ma'am," I said quietly, "no matter what, I'll take care of her." Mrs. Sterling sighed. "I know about the divorce. I didn't like you at first, but I never gave you a hard time. I even defended you to others. But Ethan, confidence comes from within. If you don't believe you're worthy, how can you expect anyone else to?" Chloe was their only child, and for the most part, they respected her decisions. After we got married, she'd had a talk with them, asking them not to interfere. And they had agreed. Mrs. Sterling had never spoken to me so openly before. I nodded, unable to speak. Chloe's father arrived soon after. His face was grim. He told his wife that everything had been handled, and now all they could do was wait for Chloe to wake up. After a long night, Mrs. Sterling said to me, "You're exhausted. Go home and get some rest." I shook my head. "It's okay. I'm young. You should go home." Mrs. Sterling frowned and was about to argue, but a wave of dizziness washed over me. The room spun, and then everything went black. When I woke up again, I was in a hospital bed next to Chloe's. Mrs. Sterling saw I was awake and rushed over. "How are you feeling? Are you in any pain?" "No." I shook my head. "How long was I out?" "The doctor said it was just exhaustion. You need to rest." I nodded, but I noticed a complicated look in Mrs. Sterling's eyes. "Is there something else?" I asked. Mrs. Sterling sighed. "Chloe's pregnant. Did you know?" I pressed my lips together, unsure how to respond. I hadn't wanted them to know. If they knew Chloe was carrying my child, they would never let her get rid of it. After all, they needed an heir. After the divorce, they would fight me for custody. And with their resources, I wouldn't stand a chance. This was my child, my family. I couldn't let that happen. I said nothing. Mrs. Sterling seemed to understand. After a long pause, she sighed. "I won't interfere in your relationship with Chloe, but this child." She looked at me. "The doctor said that as long as the mother is okay, the baby will be fine. When Chloe wakes up, she will want to keep this child. We want our grandchild to grow up in a stable home." I frowned. "Mrs. Sterling, the most important thing right now is whether Chloe will wake up." Mrs. Sterling sighed. "Ethan, Chloe has wronged you, I know. But she does love you. She's just been spoiled her whole life and doesn't know how to show it." Before she left, she patted my shoulder. "Don't worry. No matter what happens, the Sterling family will protect you." That's what Chloe would want. I nodded. After she left, it was just me and Chloe. I looked at her still form, a pang of sadness in my chest. But then I thought of the baby, and a fresh wave of anger washed over me. "I remember you said you didn't want this baby. If you wake up and decide to get rid of it, then I hope you never wake up at all." I finished speaking, but she remained perfectly still. I let out a bitter laugh. "Weren't you trying to make amends? Weren't you going to change? Are you just going to lie here and take the easy way out?" I knew she couldn't hear me, but what her mother had said had shaken me. I needed to talk. "Chloe, since you don't like kids, when you wake up, you can have the baby and I'll raise it myself. The baby will still know you're its mother. We can co-parent peacefully even after the divorce. But I'm not going to be alone forever. It might not be long before your child is calling someone else mom." I said it just to provoke her. I wouldn't get married again, maybe I'd date, but marriage was off the table. "What do you think of Jessica? She's been into me for years and she saved my life. Maybe she'd be a good stepmom." Before I could finish, Chloe's fingers twitched. Just a tiny movement. She didn't wake up. I felt a pang of disappointment. "Chloe, I'm not kidding. If you don't wake up soon, I'm serious." Before I could finish my threat, her eyelid fluttered. This time I saw it clearly. It wasn't my imagination. "Doctor," I yelled, my voice filled with excitement as I called for Drive. "Riley." Dr. Riley was also Chloe's good friend and had been at the hospital ever since she was admitted. She and Chloe's main doctor rushed in. After a quick examination, Dr. Riley told me with a hint of a smile, "She should be waking up soon." "Don't worry." I nodded. "Thank you." Dr. Riley started to leave, But then she turned back to me. I'm sorry about before, Ethan. She had always called me Mr. Hayes before. She looked genuinely sorry. I used to think you weren't good enough for Chloe, but that was your business. As long as she was happy, I shouldn't have been so hard on you. It's in the past, I said, my face impassive. Her apology didn't really register. I had never considered her a friend. To me, she was just an acquaintance. Seeing my lack of reaction, Dr. Riley didn't press the issue and left after a few polite words. I sat by the bed, waiting for Chloe to wake up. Sometime in the middle of the night, exhaustion finally claimed me, and I fell asleep with my head on the bed. Still holding her hand, the hospital was cold at night. I started to wake up, thinking of finding a blanket, when I felt a warmth spread across my shoulders. I jolted awake and opened my eyes to see Chloe tucking a blanket around me. You're awake, I exclaimed. Overjoyed, I grabbed her hand and was about to call for a doctor. While we waited for the doctor, Chloe gently wrapped her arms around me. She whispered in my ear, her voice rasping, "Don't let my baby call another woman, Mom." Her voice was weak, but she was already making demands the moment she woke up. I was both annoyed and amused. I gently pushed her back. Let's have the doctor check you out first. Chloe was finally awake, and the Sterling family was, of course, overjoyed. At the same time, the Vance family breathed a collective sigh of relief. If Chloe had died, they probably would have had to sacrifice Julian to appease the Sterlings. That was an exaggeration, of course, but for a fallen dynasty like the Vances with so many mouths to feed, cutting off their source of income was a fate worse than death. They would do anything to get back in the Sterlings' good graces. Even with Chloe awake, the relationship between the two families was irreparably damaged. After that, the dynamic between Chloe and me shifted. Before, we fought constantly, but I never seriously considered leaving. It was only when she said she didn't want children, that she'd have an abortion if she got pregnant, that I had started to think about ending my life. After she recovered, she took me to a therapist to try and get to the root of our problems. When she finally understood the real reason for my despair, the look of utter remorse on her face is something I'll never forget. "Ethan," she said, "I was just angry. I never meant it. How could I not want our child?" She seemed genuinely terrified by the memory, holding me tight. "You said that if I got pregnant, I would have to cut Julian out of your life. I thought you were just being jealous, that I could just placate you. I knew I was making mistakes, but I thought I had my reasons, and I just wanted you to understand. I didn't stop to think about how you were feeling. When you said that, I thought you were trying to use a child as a bargaining chip, a tool to control me. I was so angry I said those horrible things, but I never, ever meant them." I understood what she was saying. I had said plenty of hurtful things myself, but that time she had truly broken me. "Ethan, give me a chance," Chloe pleaded, her voice barely a whisper. "I can't lose you, and I can't lose this baby. Just watch me. See how I do. If things are still the same in the future, you can leave and I won't say a word. Ethan, I want to try again. I love you so much. We were so in love once. I can't let it end like this." How could I be okay with that either? But I was too afraid to try again. Everything she said was true. There had been huge misunderstandings between us, but the misunderstandings didn't erase the pain I had felt. "I was hurt too, Ethan," Chloe said, cupping my face in her hands. "We were like two porcupines, always hurting each other. But I'm willing to put my quills down." My mind was a mess. I didn't give her an answer. Chloe didn't push. She was carrying on attentive, but she gave me space. She was still recovering, and I told her to focus on herself and the baby, not on me. She always agreed, but she still managed to know every little detail of my life. I thought she was just doing it out of a sense of obligation to give our child a complete family. But I later realized that I hadn't been the only one keeping score in our marriage. She had been, too. After we got married, my insecurity had led me to do a lot of things that drove her crazy. I always thought our beginning was less than ideal, that you only stayed with me because of what happened that night. There are so many other guys out there, successful guys, and I was always afraid that one day you'd look at them and realize I was nothing special. This time I finally told her the truth. "Chloe, we were on such different levels. I couldn't handle it. So when I asked for a divorce, it wasn't just because of you. It was because of me. Too, I didn't want to become that person anymore. At the mention of that night, Chloe's face was filled with regret. Ethan, I never once looked at another man. I had a crush on you for a long time, I just never found the right moment. You thought that night was an accident. But think about it. Even if I was drunk, I would never have let a man I didn't like get that close to me. I was stunned. I cut her off. What do you mean? You weren't drunk that night? I had carried so much guilt over that night. She had seemed so drunk, barely coherent, but I had only been tipsy. My mind had been perfectly clear. I had thought I'd taken advantage of her. But hearing her say that, the weight I had been carrying for years lifted instantly. Chloe, if you were sober, why didn't you say something? I've spent all this time thinking I took advantage of you. Chloe gave me an apologetic smile. I was in my early 20s. I was afraid of rejection, so I had to test the waters that way. I wouldn't do that now. I couldn't help but feel a flash of resentment. If you had just told me, I wouldn't have been so insecure. I wouldn't have done all those crazy things. She placed my hand over her heart. I know. I regret it too. I liked you so much, but I pretended not to care just because I liked seeing you chase after me. I knew you hated Julian, but I thought you were overreacting instead of trying to solve the real problem with my grandfather. Ethan, I did so many things wrong. I misunderstood so much. If you hadn't lost your memory, I never would have realized how terrible I was being. We talked for a long time that day, laying everything from the past out in the open. At some point, I drifted off to sleep. She was more than 6 months pregnant by then, her belly round and full. I gently lifted her from behind and carried her to the bed. Chloe woke up as I laid her down, her arms instinctively wrapping around my neck. Thank you, she whispered. Chloe looked at me, her gaze intense. Then she tilted her head up and kissed me. I didn't say anything, just savored the moment. After a long moment she pulled away. My face flushed. I heard her whisper in my ear, her voice low and husky. Ethan, can we not get a divorce? I suddenly burst out laughing. I had thought after a kiss like that she would ask for something more intimate, but all she wanted was not to get a divorce. Seeing me laugh, Chloe looked a little annoyed, but she didn't say anything, just playfully poked me. Don't laugh, answer my question. My laughter died down and my expression turned serious. Chloe immediately backtracked. Okay, you don't have to answer. This is fine. This is good. I understood her panic. I sighed and gently stroked her cheek. Chloe, just give me some more time to think, okay? Even though we had cleared up the misunderstandings between us, learning to trust her again wouldn't be easy. Especially for a couple like us who had been through so much. We hadn't crossed any unforgivable lines, but the scars were still there. Rebuilding trust would take a long time. She focused on her pregnancy, and for the baby's sake I was more lenient with Chloe. The pregnancy was hard on her, and even though she never complained, I could see she was struggling. I felt for her, after all. It was my child too. The baby arrived before we knew it. The days flew by, and I braced myself for what was to come. Chloe was a good mother, and I appreciated that. But I also knew that if things went south again, I would be able to walk away. As it turned out, Chloe never gave me a reason to leave. One evening, after she had put the baby to sleep, she turned to find me leaning against the bedroom door, smiling at her. Chloe walked over to me. What is it? Nothing. I haven't seen your ice cream persona in a while. Chloe let out a breath of relief, then laughed and wrapped her arms around my waist. That's ancient history. Can we please not bring it up again? Why not? I laughed, dodging her playful swat. But I have to admit, I kind of miss the old cold yo. I bet you look really beautiful changing a diaper with a stern look on your face. Chloe knew I was teasing her. With a mock serious expression, she chased me into the bedroom. As she tackled me onto the bed, I heard her ask, "So honey, did I pass my probation?" I chuckled. You passed, but you're still on probation. How long is the probationary period? A lifetime. Would you like me to create a summary of the character development for Ethan and Chloe throughout this story?